Welcome back. I'm here. When you hear about an entire island being turned into a cemetery for dolls, it sounds like something out of a creepy horror movie. But this is actually a terrifying reality in Mexico, where one island is filled with thousands of dolls that whisper at night. And now I have some new stories to share with you from people who have been there. But first, let me give you some background on this place so you know why people are leaving these dolls all over the island. The island is called Isla de las Muñecas, or the Island of the Dolls, and it's located in the Mexican state of Chihuahua, just off the west coast of Mexico. The island was originally inhabited by a group of fishermen who lived there in relative peace. That is until 1904, when a hurricane struck the island and took the life of a young girl. Her name was Maria de Los Angeles. Since then, strange things started happening on the island, including sightings of the ghost of the little girl and disembodied whispers in the middle of the night. To make matters worse, starting around 1910, the Mexican government began using the island as a dumping ground for unwanted items. This included old appliances, pieces of furniture, clothing, and eventually even dead animals. All of this trash quickly attracted rats and other vermin which infested the island. So, to try and combat the growing rat problem, cats were brought to the island to help naturally control the population of rats. Unfortunately, the cats ended up multiplying beyond control and became a problem themselves. And this led to dogs being brought onto the island to deal with the cat issue. Needless to say, this didn't really work out, and the whole situation just created a breeding ground for disease. This continued until 1991, when the island was officially closed off to the public. Shortly after this, the government brought in a pair of goat herders to live on the island, take care of the goats whose milk could be used to feed the local children. The two goat herders who accepted the position were a father and son duo, but they soon found that living on the island wasn't exactly what they had expected. They would often hear the sound of footsteps near their hut in the middle of the night, but every time they went outside to investigate, they saw nothing. They also reported seeing the apparition of a little girl dressed in 19th century clothing, along with hearing disembodied whispers and even feeling the sensation of someone breathing down on their necks while they slept. In addition to this, the goat herders' goats would frequently go missing only to be found hanging in trees the next day. Obviously, these goat herders were terrified to be living on the island, and after only 3 months they packed up and left. Not long after this, the island's caretaker, Julio Sanchez, came across one of the goat herders hanging in a tree. He had taken his own life. Shortly after this incident, workers arrived on the island to clean up the mess. That's when they discovered an area of the island filled with hundreds of dolls. These dolls had been strung up in trees, hung from lampposts, and even thrown into the bushes. It's believed that these dolls represent the spirits of those who have died on the island, and if you ask locals, they will tell you that these dolls are cursed. Since then, the island has become known as the Island of the Dolls and has attracted many curious tourists. In recent years, the number of dolls on the island has grown exponentially, and there are now well over 1,000 spread throughout the island. Most of these dolls are old and worn, and it seems like some of them might even be possessed. One man who decided to visit the island was a man named Manuel. While he was walking through the creepy forest of dolls, he heard the sound of a woman crying in the distance. When he stopped to listen more closely, he heard a voice that seemed to come from the dolls themselves saying, "Take me out of here. Take me out of here." He couldn't see anyone, but it definitely sounded like the dolls were reaching out to him and begging to be freed from the island. While walking, he continued to hear whispering coming from different directions. "Don't stay here. Don't stay here." Obviously, he didn't listen and continued on. After a while, he came across a clearing, and in the center was a small wooden hut. Feeling brave, he knocked on the door and waited. No one answered, so he opened it and stepped inside. Inside the hut, he saw hundreds of dolls sitting in a circle on the floor. One doll in particular caught his attention. It was positioned at the front of the circle and was dressed in a wedding gown. Manuel didn't feel comfortable staying inside much longer, so he quickly backed out and ran as fast as he could away from the hut. Manuel was later told by some locals that the hut belonged to the island's former caretaker, Don Julio. Some say that he still lives on the island and watches over it, while others say that he died under mysterious circumstances and his body was never recovered. As Manuel was running away from the hut, he heard a blood-curdling scream in the distance. It sounded like the voice of a woman who was being brutally murdered. Even though he couldn't see anything, he kept on running until he finally made it back to his car. As soon as he got in his car and started driving away, he looked back to see the dolls standing in the same spot where he'd found the hut. Many people have visited the island since then, and most of them have claimed to hear voices, screams, and other strange sounds throughout the day and night. Here's a story from another visitor who wanted to remain anonymous. She says, "When we entered, I felt a sudden chill. There was a strong odor of decay. As we walked along, I could hear whispers all around us. It seemed as if the dolls were gossiping in hushed tones. I tried to ignore it, attributing it to the wind, but the whispers grew louder." She continued, "Then we came upon a clearing and saw a dilapidated hut. Suddenly, the whispering ceased. A bone-chilling silence descended. We dared not enter. Turning to leave, we heard footsteps behind us. Quick, heavy steps. We turned slowly, but saw no one. Then the footsteps stopped. Was it our imagination, or was something, watching us?" Another user shared this story. "I went to the island last week and I witnessed something incredible. It was a sunny and windless day. As I walked through the rows of dolls, I noticed that some of them were moving slightly. I thought I was imagining things due to the heat, but then I realized that the movement was consistent and not caused by the wind. It was like they were waving at me. I felt an overwhelming urge to run away from there as fast as possible, and as I turned to leave, I saw a group of dolls standing in a line facing me. It was as if they were watching me. It was a scary experience, and I won't be going back anytime soon." There's also the story of Miguel, who says he was visiting the island with his girlfriend. He says they were walking through the forest of dolls when he felt an intense pain in his chest. He ignored it, thinking it was probably just a pulled muscle. But the pain persisted. Concerned, he checked his girlfriend to see if she was all right and asked if she felt anything. She said she was fine. Relieved, he continued walking until the pain returned with a vengeance. He stopped and looked around. It was then he noticed that all the dolls around him had turned to face him. Panicked, he started to run, but the pain followed him. Finally, he collapsed to his knees. His girlfriend rushed to his side, but he could only muster a few words before everything went black. "Don't come here. It's dangerous." When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed. His girlfriend was by his side, along with a doctor. The doctor explained that Miguel had suffered a heart attack, likely due to stress or some kind of underlying health condition. Miguel knew that he was healthy and insisted something else must have caused the attack. His girlfriend told him that he had indeed looked pale and scared, but she also admitted that she didn't feel anything unusual. She later suggested that maybe Miguel had simply imagined the whole thing. But deep down, Miguel knew that something evil lurked on the island, and he vowed never to return. If you want to see the island for yourself, go to the Mexican state of Chihuahua and look for the island of the dolls. Just beware. If you hear any whispering coming from the dolls, don't stick around to find out what they want. Thanks for watching. Do you believe there's something evil on the island? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like the video, be sure to subscribe. I'm here. See you next time. Bye.